Hey everybody, I hope and pray that you're doing well. Today as we come to our word from the word. And today that word is path. Path. You ever wonder what path God has you on? We know we've been talking about Psalm 119 on Wednesday night Bible studies and recently Psalm 119, 105, right? Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. But now if we think about that, we would think, okay, well, if God is leading us and on his path is going to be smooth. His path is going to be easy. It's going to be paved and, got that new pavement, that new asphalt, real nice and smooth. And we'll say, well, it's going to be streets of gold and it will be in glory. But sometimes we think that life here is always going to be smooth sailing. I think it's just going to be a comfortable, relaxing ride, a relaxing walk. But let's be honest, right? Because even as I say that, you think, yeah, it hasn't been that way. Or if you think, well, yeah, I thought it was supposed to be smooth, but I must be doing something wrong because it has been anything but smooth. I'm going to give you a word of encouragement that's going to sound like discouragement, but hear me out. Sometimes God's people suffer for reasons we don't know. Sometimes we suffer because we're God's children. Now, I want you to think about that and just let that kind of sink in for a minute. And when we say suffer, it's those things that we see that we cannot see the whole picture. We don't understand what God is doing. See this throughout the Psalms. You see people crying out. I mean, you see Old Testament, New Testament as well. Throughout, you see people that are going through difficult times and they don't understand. Right? Probably the greatest example that's ever used in the Old Testament is Job. But what about the New Testament and Jesus? What did he deserve? Right? We look and we say, well, yes, but it was a grand plan. It was a great plan behind it all. There can be a great plan for our suffering as well. Now, also, as I used the case of Job and with Jesus, right? Sin was not the cause of their suffering. Although ultimately, Jesus' suffering was caused not by his own sin, but caused by our sin. Now, without going to try to preach the whole gospel message in a short video like this, I want you to think about this, that here in Psalm 44 today, if you read the whole Psalm, listen to the words that are being said. It's God we don't understand. God, all these things are happening to us. God, we need you to rescue us. But God, we want you to know that we've been faithful. We haven't sinned. In other words, what they were saying at this time, what they were going through, it wasn't because of sin. And they just did not understand why they were suffering, why the enemies were persecuting, why the enemies were having victory over them. But they say, you know what? God, we're still going to trust in you. And that's the word I want us to look at today with that path that God has us on. Psalm 44, looking at verses 17 through 22 today. He says, all this has come upon us, but we have not forgotten you, nor have we dealt falsely with your covenant. Our heart has not turned back, nor have our steps departed from your way. But you have severely broken us in the place of jackals, and covered us with the shadow of death. If we had forgotten the name of our God, or stretched out our hands to a foreign God, would not God search this out? For he knows the secrets of the heart. Yet, for your sake, we are killed all day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Now, that last verse there in verse 22, Paul quotes it in Romans 8:36. And even I encourage you to read that little passage right there in, I think it's verses 31 through 36. But look, just read Romans chapter 8. That's an awesome chapter to read as well. But there he's saying, look, what can separate us? If God be for us, who can be against us? And he gets to what can separate us from the love of God. And he says, even though all these things are going on, even though it seems like my path is rocky and it's stony and it's difficult to traverse, God, we are trusting you that your path is right. That's why he says to guide me in your way, your path. See, at the end of the day, we know that wide is the gate, right, that leads to destruction, but narrow is the way that leads to the Lord, and there's few that enter in it. Because if you think about it, it's probably, we imagine it's going to be just a little narrow, smooth road. But I think that wide road is paved really smooth, but it leads to hell. That rocky, stony path that goes up and down through the valleys, up over the steep cliffs and mountaintops, and there's ups and downs and hills and valleys and rocks, and it's difficult, but it's God's path. And you say, well, wait a minute, is it worth it? Absolutely. Because even what we may be going through here, it may be for us to grow our faith so that we'll be stronger to be a stronger influence for the gospel, to be a better witness for the gospel, to be a better worshiper of God. Maybe it's even in that witness that you say, well, maybe I'm not going to have victory here. Maybe you're not. But maybe your victory is in being defeated here and giving all the glory to God. See, there's times that we do not understand the path that God has in store for us. But that does not mean that we cannot trust Him. It does not mean that He's not faithful. Because even when we're not faithful, I love this New Testament from Paul, even when we're not faithful, He is faithful. So if He's faithful, I choose His path over mine any day. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.